Hello and welcome back to the Nourished Mamas podcast. Um, Today we're diving into one thing that I cut out in order to lose weight postpartum. So I'm Mallory, I'm a registered dietitian. I've been in the weight loss space probably about 8 years, and I have worked with countless moms on weight loss and really just finding ways to make life simpler, really dive into habits that are going to work the best for them. And this is one that I use with them, but it's also one that worked really well for me just to cut it out. And many of you are probably listening to this episode because you were thinking that if when I say cutting things out to lose weight postpartum, you'd assume that I'm about to say carbs, sugar, bread, or dessert. And honestly, the thing that I cut out that had the most impact had nothing to do with the food. And it's everything to do with my stress, the consistency of what I was doing, and taking some of that pressure off by trusting the process. And for postpartum moms, especially, this can really shift things to make weight loss feel a whole lot calmer. So, what am I talking about? And that is that most moms assume weight loss comes down to eating less, cutting something out. But for me, that biggest shift was not in my plate. It was in taking out the need to check the scale every morning. So I know this sounds small. I know it seems like it either wouldn't make that big of an impact or um, like it's something that if you don't do it, you're not going to have the motivation to eat well. I've heard both things where like the scale is not something you rely on at all, or you use the scale every single day the way I did, which was to base your motivation off of what the number said. But if you've ever stepped on the scale daily, then you know that it can make it feel like your effort doesn't count because it shifts so much. And that really just doesn't give you the whole picture of what you're doing, whether or not it's working. And when you do it daily, it just puts so much pressure on the choices you're making, but it also can demotivate you to continue making the decisions that you know are going to help in the long run because you feel like it's not making a difference right now. So, this is one of those habits that can be super powerful. And when it comes to postpartum specifically, there's so many fluctuations with our weight. There's water retention from sodium, getting enough sleep, whatever you ate the day before. Like, say you ate more sweets, sugar makes you retain water. If you ate takeout, sodium in the takeout may make you retain water. Your bowel movements. I know it's not sexy, but those can make your weight shift. And it really has everything to do with what's going on in your body right that second and nothing to do with fat loss or gain. You do not lose fat overnight. It is not something that happens very quickly. It's something that takes time. As you are losing weight too, your body will store water in those fat cells to keep them the size that they were. And this is where it's like the body is kind of evil. It's not like it feels like it's betraying you, but it's actually trying to do you a favor. Um, Back in the day, it would store up space for your fat cells to stay the same size by holding on water. And then when it realizes, like, oh, there's not more food coming in, then eventually it will flush away. And so those fat cells are designed inherently to hold on to fat. That is their whole job. That's what they want to do. Your body wants to feed into them because we had so much time where there was famine. And today, especially in the US, most of our famine is disguised. It's diets. Dieting is what is our famine. So if you've seen like the skinny talk, if you've seen in Hollywood, we kind of have skinny back in style. And I think it can be so, so harmful to see that in society because when you are undernourished, when you are not feeding yourself, that is when it is so easy for your body to turn fat storage mode on. It messes with your metabolism. It makes it harder for your body to lose weight. And that's part of where, like, if you do go on a really restrictive diet, you lose a lot of weight to start out, and then you stop the diet or life happens, you end up seeing that weight balloon back up. Super common because your metabolism has slowed down because it wants to store the fat. So we need to really look at things from that long-term perspective. I know it sucks. I get it. But stress also makes it so that we can hold on to more weight. So the more we're stressing about our diet, the more we're stressing about our weight, the more we're stressing about our appearance, the more we're stressing about our food, all of it, the harder it is to lose the weight. Isn't that the worst cycle? So, what we're looking for is that sustainability, those habits that are going to change. And then you also, as far as the daily fluctuations go, are seeing changes from your cycle. If you have started your period back up, you know that you feel really sluggish, you feel really bloated, you feel really icky. You get a lot of GI stuff going on like the days before your period. And then we're holding on to water there. And then the days after, you kind of go back down. That's so, so common. And then also, like, depending on if you're early on in your postpartum and you may be breastfeeding or nursing, you may be retaining water that way because you'll notice your breast size increases because it's holding on to fluid. You are so thirsty. You may be so hungry, but that is not fat gain. That is fluids. So, stepping on the scale every single day does not necessarily help you see fat loss or fat gain. It is showing you a snapshot in the moment of water, usually. Um, Emotionally, however, the scale, when you do see, like, oh, shoot, my weight's up 5 pounds, like, sure, I know my cycle's starting this week, and I know, like, all of this stuff, I know it in my head, it still makes me feel like, what's the point? And so you start eating more. You start, and this goes both ways. So you may have either reaction, and it may depend on the day. If you let the scale determine your mood for the day and determine your willpower, like if the scale is up and you're like, well, shoot, I really got to double down, and then you may be skipping meals. You may be feeling like you have to starve yourself into weight loss, but it's not true weight loss. Or you're on the other end of that spectrum and you go into what's the point? I'm just going to eat it all, like eat all of the things anyway, all of the snack foods, all of the unhealthy things because you feel like the weight is up, so screw it. I'm just going to eat. Does any of that sound familiar? The scale drives inconsistency. The scale drives all or nothing thinking when it is used every day. So, this is what really made me question my progress when I was stepping on the scale every single morning. It doesn't feed your habits, it just stresses you out and makes your life harder. So, what do we focus on instead? If we're not stepping on the scale, we need to shift into what is going to work. And you're going to want to look at what you can repeat that is controllable. The scale is not controllable, not necessarily. You can absolutely control what you're eating, though. You can control how you're building out your meals to stay full. You can control having enough protein, having enough fat, having enough fruits and vegetables that you put on your plate so that you have energy to chase your toddler when they learn how to open the deadbolt, like mine has this week. That was, I'm so glad my dog has not escaped yet. We'll put it that way. Um, I didn't realize my son was tall enough, let alone had watched us enough times to know to turn the deadbolt and then just escape. He's gone. Doors wide open. I am running after him, trying to chase him on gravel with bare feet and keep my dog from escaping. You need energy for that. That's mom life. You don't expect that. I sure didn't. But also, like, having the energy crashes throughout the day, so much of that is determined by food. We may not think about it because as moms, we don't sleep enough. I know that. Yesterday, I woke up at 5 a.m. with my son, and he didn't want to be held. He wanted me to sit there while he laid in his bed. You know, like that's just the way mom life goes. Sometimes I think he might be. I always think he's starting a new tooth, but at the same time, like maybe he was gassy. I don't know. He woke up last night. Usually he goes down at like 8:39, and he woke up at 11 p.m. and just would not stop screaming. He was inconsolable until we found him a little bit of like baby gas X, essentially. So the sleep is not something we can control super well when we have toddlers or newborns. It's just not. Just like the scale, we can't control if that goes up or down day by day. We can control the trend a little bit by making new choices. But we need to eat like our bodies deserve fuel and not put ourselves on the back burner. I fully understand how easy it is to skip a meal, whether that's you get caught up in the day to day of getting to work, getting your kid dropped off at daycare, packing lunches for your husband, making sure they're taken care of. You're taking care of everyone else in your home. So, what is left for you? Are you taking the time to care for yourself? Are you taking the time to look at your meals and say, have I eaten a veggie today? When was the last time I filled my water bottle? For me, I have coffee. I think I drank some water today. No, I know I did. I had to take some pain meds for my cycle starting. So I know I took some water within the last like hour when I got back from a dog walk. So those are things we can control. We're looking for consistency. We're not looking for intensity. And you're so good at feeding your kids, making sure they have balanced meals, making sure their snacks are organic, all of the good stuff for your kids. And then you're standing there in the kitchen eating potato chips or, like me, sourdough bread over the kitchen sink. I get it. We're the last thing on the list. So we need to combat this. This may be common, but it doesn't need to be your normal. So long term, let's start taking care of ourselves. Let's take 5 minutes to build out your plate. And that is completely doable, even if it feels hard. So, this is what I would focus on the most. So, we're not looking at the scale, we're looking at balancing out our meals, those things we can control. So, if you are stuck and you don't know how to balance out your meals, I made a resource for that specifically where I've got a video on the whole system where I teach you how to balance your meals. It may look a little different than you think it does, but we're simplifying, we're removing decision fatigue. I have grocery lists, I have meal ideas. It has my entire playbook on how to lose weight postpartum by balancing your meals, not by calorie counting, not by logging every single bite. That is not what you need in motherhood. We don't have time for it. I know that because we're trying to do less screen time. We're trying to be more present. And part of being more present is being fueled, feeling like you have the energy to get through your day. This will give you structure without the tracking. It removes the need to Google, what should I eat today at 3 in the morning when you're like, why can't I lose this weight? And you're like staring at your phone at 3 a.m., like, oh my God. This removes that for you. And it helps you stop piecing together random advice from the internet. I know how overwhelming it can feel out there. Like, I've done my share of Google searches and I have taken the time to parse through it while also bringing in what I have been teaching moms for years. So, this isn't a diet, it's a guide that's going to help you stop guessing and start actually feeding yourself the way that you want to be fed or the way that you would feed anyone else in your family. So, if you're ready to take a step away from the daily scale, stress, and start focusing on habits that actually move the needle, the Postpartum Weight Loss Playbook is the place to start. It's designed for postpartum moms. It doesn't matter if you are 3 months postpartum up to 3 years postpartum. This is stuff that is not going anywhere. We have new stressors every time our routine changes, and routine does not stay the same with little ones. You may have something figured out for like a month, and then, like, if you are 3 months postpartum, you've got it to where, yeah, I can do this. And then you go back to work. It's like, oh my God, I'm starting all over again. And so, this gives you a bit of a roadmap to balance out your meals, have a visual so that you don't need to cut out carbs, you don't need to be stricter with yourself. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can cut out is the pressure. So I hope to see you inside. And I will drop the links below in the show notes. I will see you next week on the next episode of the Nourished Mamas podcast. And if this episode was helpful to you and you know another mom that may benefit from it, go ahead and hit the share button. I would love to meet more and more moms as we go along in this journey. Okay, I will talk to you guys next week. See you next time.